as part of our passion to see that we get it right when it has to do with love and relationship, we felt like coming around to and I want to believe that there is nobody here that will go the same. How many of you are married? If you are married, wave your hand. Okay. If you are married, wave your hand. Let me see. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for my fellow men that are married. And for ladies that are married, I want you to wave your hand. All the ladies that are married, wave your hand. Okay, thank you so much. Please, can you join me and celebrate the only married woman here, which is my wife? Celebrate her. Celebrate her very well. Thank you so much. Because I looked around and saw that there are no other married men and women. Only one married woman. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. So, for your information, Eric is here. And if there is anybody hanging around waiting to know whether Eric will come, please put calls across. Tell them that Eric is here. Are you understanding what I'm saying? So please call your friends, call everyone around, hanging around the school premises. Tell them that Eric is here. Are we together? Okay, so as part of what we do in GYF, in Global Youth Foundation, what does E stand in that acronym, SPIDER? What does it stand? I didn't get it. What does it stand for? Emotional development. So you discover that people cannot give love or receive love except they are emotionally stable. So if a young girl or a young man is not developed emotionally, you discover that love is a mirage. It's not a reality. So that is why that letter E that stands for emotional development, we take it very seriously. So that before somebody talks of relationship, talks of who to marry, talks of saying I love you past my mother, so first and foremost, that person must be emotionally stable. Are we understanding what I'm saying? So, and that is why that E that stands for emotional development in the next few minutes is one of our basic or foundational teaching in the SPIDER series. I want to just go through it in a very short time before we get into a few other things. I want to say that love is real. And love is not a scam. Tell your neighbor, love is not a scam. You know, the big question most people ask is, does true love really exist? And why do they ask such questions? Because of experiences and because of several things that have happened. But I want to quickly look at the causes of emotional strain that makes several people, as we are talking of emotional development, that makes people very unstable emotionally. Because if you go to these classes in our hostels and in our classrooms, when you hear people talk and you see people react, you know that this person, his problem is not necessarily what you are discussing with her. There is a carryover. Are you understanding what I mean? I entered a bus some years ago from New Market in Enugu going to Oka. As I entered the bus, those days, these 608 buses, I entered one of them, waiting for other passengers. After a while, one guy that was sitting right in front of me felt like going to ease himself. He left to go and ease himself and told his neighbor that he was coming back. In a couple of seconds, another woman walked in. As she walked in, she came and occupied the seat where the other guy was sitting. So the person beside her told her, please, so a guy just walked out to pick something that he was coming. She kept quiet. She didn't talk. He repeated it again. The woman kept quiet until the guy walked in. I said, Madam, please, I was sitting here before you came. The woman looked at him. I said, if you talk to me again, I will give you a dirty slap. The guy was embarrassed. He said, I just left my husband in the hospital now. He just died few minutes ago. And 2 weeks ago, my uncle just died. And she was just, as nobody asked her, nothing. But you discover she was acting based on what had happened to her. And that is what happens when you get to offices and you see the HOD in charge of exams and records. Let me put it that way. Or you get to one faculty and you hear one lecturer talking this, talking the other this. And most often, he is not just reacting to what you are saying. He is reacting to experiences, whatever thing he had passed through even at home before coming. In several occasions, the people you meet in classroom, their responses even to love, their responses even to several actions, they are all dependent on their experiences. So that is why we're looking at the place of emotional stability, development. So that as a young boy, as a young girl, whether in the place of work, whether in your academics, in every area, you can be emotionally stable so that you can excel. So causes of emotional strain. Number one cause of emotional strain is what I call previous experiences. Tell your neighbor, previous experiences. Say it one more time. Previous experiences. Have you heard some people say that all men are the same? So why do they say such? Because probably they had encountered one or two guys. And because of that, how they were treated or what happened formed a notion, a concept, an ideology. And before you know what is happening, that ideology that has been formed will impact on their love life, will impact in their relational life, how they relate with peers, with elders, or with younger ones. So emotional development emotional life has a strain as a result of people's previous experiences. Something happened to a girl on campus. She was a girl we met on campus. We discovered she was even in one of the fellowship groups. We discovered this girl, was always irritated when any guy came around her. She was always irritated. And in such a way that even when people wanted to be of help to her, everybody that was wearing trousers was a suspect. It was later on when I discussed with her, said, from what I'm seeing, you seem to be so alienated that you don't have any interaction with guys. What is the problem? I was very plain and asked her. I discovered that something happened to her when she was in secondary school. She finished SS3 and traveled to Lagos to meet with her sister. Her sister was married and they were living in Lagos. And she was staying with the sister. Within that period, the husband to her sister, who was a banker, one of the days, he was making advances on her and nothing really happened. But one of the days when everybody had gone out, the man from nowhere came back to the house. To cut the long story short, he raped her. After raping her, it formed a picture in her mind in such a way that she never believed in this world that men are not dogs. That picture formed in her mind in such a way that it affected everything that has to do with relationship with men. I'm talking of previous experiences. Well, I think it's good. Let me run because Eric is here so that he can come up and do some things. But the emphasis I'm saying is that these are some factors that have affected so many of us. Previous experiences. So it has made some of us to be so caged. They are not free. They can't relate. They can't love. They can't receive love. Neither can they give love. It's a matter. Number 2 factor that is equally impacting emotional life is rejection. Rejection. Can I hear somebody say rejection? Say it one more time. Rejection. And when we are talking of rejection, it has to do with a situation where you feel you don't belong to a group or to a class because of how they treat you. You know, there are some of us, probably based on your background, where you are coming from. You are coming from one interior village, and here you are on campus. And you know, it's on campus, several people form. Even the people that are very local from one interior village, once they come to the campus, they will begin to raise their fingers. Does it happen here? So I could remember one girl who was a village girl but came to the campus and we were passing through and saw one woman who was peeling cassava. They wanted to go and make gari. And she looked at it and said, what is this? What is this? I said, what do you mean? I said, no, this is cassava. I said, wow, is it cassava? On her own, she wanted to form and to prove to everybody that she came from the moon. And now, as a young girl who is within a territory where you feel others are better off, it impacts on your emotional life. Because in your mind, you feel you are not measuring up. Why? Because of how some of your classmates, some of your hostel mates, some of your roommates, how they act. So on your own, you feel intimidated. That intimidation impacts on your emotional life. And before you know what it keeps building up to the point that it becomes difficult to either receive love or give love. What did I call that one? Rejection. And you know, there are occasions where some of us want to belong. You want to belong to a class. You want to belong to, and when you want to belong to that class, they are looking at you that you are not measuring up. Maybe you are physique, maybe what you wear, maybe, in one thing or the other, you just feel you are not measuring up to the standard and to the things that are happening around you. In several occasions, it brings about emotional strain. Hello? If you are with me, wave your hand. All right. Number 3. Cause of emotional strain is what I call heartbreak. Heartbreak. When I'm talking of heartbreak, it's not just about relationship. It has to do with somebody you trusted, somebody you believed from every ramification that this is a bosom friend. And if that person betrays the trust you have on him or you have on her, it can impact on your emotional state. Hello? That can even inform some of your actions, your responses, your attitude, and the things you do. So, heartbreak. Equally, even in relationships. Some of us, right from SS1 to SS3, they have jumped into about 15 relationships. So they have broken the Guinness Book of Records when it has to do with relationship. So they are so anointed when it has to do with that. So, but the emphasis is when you've suffered heartbreak, one boy, one guy, got your heart and crushed it. So it will impact on your emotional life. Number 4, very quickly, personal disappointment. Personal disappointment. Personal disappointment. When we talk of personal disappointment, we are talking in line with your personal decisions and choices. Some of us that are here looking at me, before you came to the campus, you had several things you had resolved within you. I am not going to be involved in this. I'm not going to be involved in that. This is how my life is going to be. And some of us with wonderful backgrounds, beautiful Christian parents, and they were raised probably even in church. But while on campus, first year, first semester, first year, some that came in as virgins have had up to 2-3 abortions. As a first year student, probably by the time you were in first year, you were still, very intact. But now you are in third year, and you have grossly disappointed your personal consecration, the expectation your parents had on you. Even some lecturers and some uncles and daddy, they had several expectations on you. And now when you look at who you used to be and who you are now, you are disappointed in yourself. Are you understanding what I'm saying? That alone can equally bring emotional strain that can impact on your life, and it will affect so many things you do. Because this emotional development is not just about when it has to do with love or marriage or this. It impacts on your work, on your life as a human being. The whole, everything about your life. It has to do with your place of work, your academics, your relationship, every area. So if one doesn't get it right, or if one doesn't stabilize emotionally, it becomes a matter. I could remember vividly something that happened. I did pre-science before I got admission. I think we call it pre-degree here. Is it pre-degree? Or pre-whatever? Yes, I did pre-science. That was in Unizik. So I finished from Unizik. So I'm a giant. Okay? So something happened when we did our pre-science. When we did our pre-science, we discovered that one of our friends, very bright students, because then Unizik pre-science used to be very brutal. So you could have about 1,500 students that enrolled for the pre-science. At the end of the day, about 200, 300 will pass. It was very brutal. This guy was among the bright students. So he failed the pre-science. And he had not failed the exam in his life. When he failed pre-science, he cried and wept. After a while, he decided to go on second missionary journey. He wrote JAMB again and enrolled for pre-science again. By then, some of us had gotten admission, were in first year, and then he went to do pre-science again. After the second missionary journey in pre-science, he equally failed again. This guy wanted to commit suicide. Wow! He had disappointed himself, disappointed the trust his parents had on him, and some friends and colleagues. So on his own, he wanted to commit suicide. I engaged him, I talked with him. I asked him a question. Let me assume his name is Chukwudi. I said, Chukwudi, who would you really say that is the cause of this problem? You, Satan, or God? He looked at me and said, both Satan and God combined to make him fail. So he felt he was so grossly disappointed that he felt God was against him, Satan was against him, he himself was against himself. There was nothing anybody could say in this world that could make him believe that there was hope, any hope left. And why several people commit suicide, they just want to end it, could be they disappointed themselves. It has impacted on their emotions and they lacked that control. Number 5. Let me stop at number 5, then I will just give one or two other things. Number 5 is what I call frustration in life. a picture I have, frustration in life. What do I mean by frustration in life? When your expectations are not met, you get so frustrated in yourself to the point that you feel life is not worth living. Some of us took JAMB. I know one of my friends that wrote JAMB 7 times. But he still insisted this JAMB, first year, second year, 7 good times. So on a normal ground, when somebody is trying to hit it, we have a picture in our generation where we are talking of somebody don't hammer. When you have a people want to hammer in the next 1 month, in the next 1 year, and then for the next 1 month, next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, nothing seems to be happening. You get so frustrated that you may either kill yourself or go to do something. I could remember what happened. That was few years ago. We were having a camp meeting, GYF camp meeting. Okay, so I think it was David that came and told me this. He had one of her classmates. They were in first year, just entered school, EPSU. What happened? This guy who was so wonderful and was a course rep in his department and level, he wanted to make money. He decided this was happening in EPSU. So some of his friends had told him 1 or 2 things and how things were working. I know that FUNAI is not like that. FUNAI is a holy ground. Do I have witnesses here? No, you've not heard my story. Let me finish the story because I know FUNAI is exceptional. Okay, it all happened. A very long story, but to cut it short, this boy equally wanted to hammer. First year, course rep. In several occasions, the handouts and some lecture notes and textbooks, the lecturers may give them to the course rep to help themselves. Does it happen here? Okay, it doesn't happen here. So it happens there. So this guy was helping some of the lecturers to sell some of the textbooks and this thing, and was keeping the money. But because he wanted to hammer, and few of his friends who had hammered, were just coming to school in luxurious form and shape. And this guy said, now who know life better thing? So I'm not going to carry last. So he decided to embark on that. And they told him there was a man in Ijebode who was responsible for their wealth, and gave him download of what to do, which he did. And the man sent some things to him because he was meant to go to Ijebode. He couldn't go again. Sent some things to him with both black soap, candles, different kinds of things. And at the end of the day, he was told what to do. He decided to do it. The part of the story I want to share is that he was told he was going to come out around 12 midnight, take a bath, light the candles inside the room, and make sure that the light will not go off. Take his bath outside with the soap, and then rush to any bank, carry sand from the bank, and come back. Different kinds of things. He said no problem. He rushed out of his lodge, came outside, took his bath, and then to rush in to be able to circle the bank. Remember, the candle was on, and the condition was that the light must not go off. As soon as he entered inside, because he locked everywhere was so that there was no room for breeze to enter. As soon as he entered inside, the candle, both the red, the black, the white, all of them went off. This guy shouted. And when he was bathing and making the incantation he was told to do, the guy was told to be calling the name of his father, the name of his mother, and few other things. He was busy reciting all those things. And at the end of the day, he had to put calls across in the morning because the light had gone off. And the man shouted and said, Kai! This cannot be reversed again. Because the spirit that was coming when you were making the invocation was a blind spirit and will never operate when there is darkness. The spirit needed light to operate. And for not working, the spirit had to go back. And those names you were calling, the spirit will go after them. The boy didn't know what to do. He was between heaven and earth. He cried and cried and cried. That was still looking for solution. He loved his father. He loved his mother. He loved this thing. And remember, this guy came from a beautiful and wonderful Christian home. But to cut the long story short, he got so frustrated. He could not enter his room again. Both the calabash, all the this, he was damn afraid. He could not enter again. And then he decided to start living outside and was looking for solution. That was how they came to me. What to do? One, how to enter that room and how to pack those things and how his parents should not die and all those kind of stuff. So I said, well, I gave him a condition that he must do. And that condition was simply to embrace Jesus, who alone could change his life. He did that, and I just sent somebody, went, packed those things, brought them to where we were having meeting. So I brought all of them together, burnt them, and told him, it was such a beautiful scenario, but his freedom became beautiful and wonderful. But why did I bring this story? You discover that in our season and our time, when everybody wants to make it, and you seem frustrated because you have not gotten what you feel you need to get. From FUNAI, somebody called me. Okay, it's not FUNAI. I say FUNAI people are righteous. Maybe it was from another school, but mistakenly the person said FUNAI. The person called me and said that he wanted to come to my temple. I said, me? Temple? He said, yes, that he got my number from somewhere. I said, what is the problem? He said that he needed his business to start booming. I said, business? That's great. And you want to come to my temple? He said, yes, sir. Okay, so which business? He said, well, actually, I'm into Yahoo, this thing. I said, Yahoo? He said, yes, sir. This thing. I said, no problem. It's a good one. And this thing. So, when are you coming? Because I like such people, because they only needed their business to boom. I will help him to channel him correctly. So, but when he asked me, okay, that somebody gave him my contact, how much do I charge? I made a mistake. The mistake that I made was that I would have told him to bring some big money. When you don't tell somebody to do something that will be difficult, the person won't believe that you are serious. I just told him, no, you don't need to bring money. Just confess. He said, no, that I was not original. You understand what I mean? So that was how I said I made a mistake. Because if I had told him actually that because of the kind of business you are doing and you want to boom, I will start with you with 200,000. If it works, then you increase it to 2 million. If it works again, you increase it, and you would have been shocked that in the next 1 hour, he would have landed. But when I told him, no, you don't need to bring money. Just come first of all, let us discuss. Listen. He felt, until today I have not seen him. I've been looking for how to get him. Now, you discover that when people get frustrated and they want to make it by all means, it becomes a matter. So how do you now handle emotional strain? I will run through them. 3, 4, this thing, then you can get out. Number 1, take responsibility for your destiny. Tell your neighbor, take responsibility for your destiny. Say it one more time. Shout it so that he will hear you. Why am I saying that? Nobody can beautify your destiny like you can do. And we have this notion, even in this part of the world, this mindset and mentality where you feel that your parents owe you, your uncles owe you, your friends owe you, and for that reason they must take responsibility for this, for that. Your parents have done so much by giving birth to you. Of course, they normally tell us that you may be born poor, but if you end poor, then every blame is on who? On you. Because some of us will begin to assume, if I were born in Lagos, if I had attended, one wonderful secondary school somewhere, if not that by chance or by mistake, I have ended up in FUNAI of all campuses, why not Unilag? Why not? And for one or two reasons, they are not ready to take responsibility for their destinies. I want you to know, brothers and sisters, that your destiny is in your hand. Put forth your hand. Let me see you. Put off your right hand like this. Can I hear you call yourself by your name? Want to go? Can I hear you say, your destiny is in your hand? No, call your name and speak to that person you are calling and tell him or her, your destiny is in your hand. Want to go? There is something I believe, that your destiny is, forgive me for that ideology, but I have an explanation to that. Your destiny is not in God's hands. Your destiny is in your hands. I mean that your destiny is not in God's hand. God has done, He has a beautiful plan for everyone. There is nobody that God has created and has created him or her to end up in hell. No. There's nobody God has created and has earmarked and said, you will not make it in life. In life, Bible says that I have a plan for you. That is God. And what is that plan? The plan of good and not of evil. Can I hear you say, God has a good plan for me, but my destiny is in my hand? So it is you that will manage the good plan God has to either make it productive or to ruin it. Therefore, handling your emotions and stabilizing in your love life is basically in your hand. Number 2, practice forgiveness. Tell your neighbor, practice forgiveness. We're trying to look at how to now manage the emotional strain. Tell your neighbor once again, practice forgiveness. So because if you are not ready or willing to forgive the people who have offended you, who have disappointed you as a result of previous experience, you cannot in any way come out of depression. Because several of us are depressed as a result of such emotional strength. But when you practice forgiveness, ability to forgive your friends, your neighbors, even your parents. There are some of us here, I have met several. If they are giving gun to shoot their parents, they will do it. In fact, it happens a lot in secondary school, in some of our churches. Some students decided, I could remember one school we attended, a boarding school. At the end of the day, some students decided they were not, during holidays, that they were not going back home. They came to me, were telling me that they were not going. I was asking one of them, what do you mean you are not going back home? What happened? And opened up and began to share experiences in their homes and in their, and in her mindset, in her mind, she felt on a normal ground that her parents were wrong. Hello? But no matter what has happened, you must learn to forgive. Tell your neighbor, learn to forgive. Shout it louder. Sorry, we don't have much time. Then number 3, Forgive yourself. You are forgiving others. This time around, forgive yourself. You disappointed yourself. You disappointed your parents. What you had expected to be and how you had wanted your life to be before you came to the campus. First year, you disappointed yourself. First of all, learn how to forgive yourself. Because in several occasions, when we don't forgive ourselves, it's difficult for us to come out of several depressions and matters that have affected and impacted us emotionally. Forgive yourself. Number what now? Number 4, define your value systems and live by them. Define your value systems and live by them. Define your value systems and live by them. So by implication, you may have friends around, but when you define your value system, you discover that in the midst of crowds, you can become unique. Hello? In the midst of crowds, you can become unique. You can become different and know that you are a standard. Nobody can influence you. Nobody can lure you into one or two other things. Number 6, is it 5 or 6? Number 5, be ready to start afresh. Tell your neighbor, be ready to start afresh. In such a way that no matter how far you have failed, no matter how far you have failed, just make up your mind, I'm starting afresh. Just like in this meeting today, I expect that several people will take a decision. No matter how they have disappointed themselves, no matter what had happened around them, they are starting afresh. And when you start afresh, I'm telling you, you'll be shocked what God can do even with broken vessels. Number what now? Number 6, which is the last one I will mention. Submit to God for your emotional healing. Submit to God for your emotional healing. Hello? Submit to who? To God for your emotional healing. So I've been able to scratch part of our Love Panadol series. So but first of all, I try to look at emotional states of our lives. So that when we now begin to talk of love, talk of marriage, talk of this thing, if you are able to be emotionally stable, then you are sure you can give love and you can receive love. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Because we discovered that when a man has not been healed of emotional hurts, he finds a way to pour his venoms on people around him. If you have not been healed, you discover that anybody that comes around you, even with good intentions, may become an enemy. So, in such a way that your destiny helpers who would have gone ahead to help you, you can scare them because of your attitude. So, some of us, our attitude, our reactions, our behaviors are all a function of emotional strain. My prayer for you is that you'll be healed emotionally. And my prayer for you is that you will get it right. So with these few points of mine, I think I've been able not to confuse you, but to convince you, you can get it right emotionally. Thank you so much.